Okay, so the last time we were talking, I was in the middle of telling a story when my alarm went off. And so I just want to finish telling this story really quickly. Um, so, anyway, so I sinned. And I knew it was something, it wasn't small. And I knew that it was something that in any other church I would need to step down from ministry for, and in all the churches that I had experienced. And so I went to the pastor and I told him what I had done, and I told him that I needed to step down from ministry. And you'll see this in one of my books. He told me to pinch myself. And I'm like, okay. So I pinched myself. He goes, no, pinch yourself harder. And I did. And he goes, did you feel that? And I said, yeah. And he said, so you're human. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, so what's the point? And he had me turn to Psalm 103. And I think it's around verse 20 or 25, 28, something like that. I'll put it in the comments below. And if I forget to put it down there, please tell me. Not in the comments, in the description box. Always check my description boxes because I put stuff there. Um, anyway, so tell me if I don't put it there because it's really important that you look this up. So in there, it says that God knows that we're but dust, that we're just human. And he loves us anyway, and he cares for us, and he forgives us. And that's grace, you guys. That's grace. It doesn't mean that we're supposed to keep sinning. And it doesn't mean that he says, oh, that's okay. That's not it at all. In fact, it's so not okay that his son died to make it okay. Not to make it okay, but yeah, to make it okay. His son died not to make it okay for us to sin, but to pay the price for that sin. And so it's not that I'm saying it's okay to sin. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just saying it's not the end of the world when you do. And because we're human, and humans sin. That is the condition that we are in. And it doesn't end there. We go to God, we confess it, we get forgiveness. This is illustrated really well in the Bible when some of the Pharisees and scribes brought a woman to Jesus who had been caught in adultery. And we're not even going to go to the fact that only the woman was brought. She wasn't committing adultery by herself. But anyway, she was brought to Jesus, and they were using it to test him to see if he would obey the Jewish law. And, if you were caught in adultery, you were supposed to be stoned. I mean, in other words, not on drugs, but having people throw stones at you until you died. Very painful death. And I'm sure that woman was absolutely terrified. And she was thrown down at Jesus' feet. They told him what they had caught her doing and asked him what should be done. And kind of like, how are you going to get yourself out of this one? Anyway, his answer to them was, you're right. She deserves to be stoned. So, whichever one of you is without sin, go ahead and cast the first stone. And he just waited. And they all realized, nope, none of us can do that because we've all sinned. And they all walked off one by one. But that's not the end of the story. He says to her, your sins have been forgiven. Go and sin no more. I think he says your sins have been forgiven. But anyway, he says go and sin no more. And that's what grace is. Grace doesn't say it's okay to sin. Grace says you're forgiven. Go and sin no more. And when you're condemned over and over and over for something, really, guys, the response eventually is going to be, you know what? I'm condemned. I may as well have fun. you know, that's how it is. When we just condemn people, that's going to be the response eventually. And it might be right away or it might take a while. But eventually they're going to figure out they're condemned. And so, damned if you do, damned if you don't. May as well just go and have fun and do whatever the heck I want to. But when we show grace, that's a whole different story. And people want to live up to a completely different standard. And they want to, there's love for the person who shows the grace. And there's a strong desire to do what's right for the person who was shown the grace. And anyway, so I'll talk more about grace in the future, but I just wanted to kind of talk about that experience in my own life and being shown grace in that particular situation. It really was a life changer for me. It was the first time that I remember having even the inkling of grace. And at that point, I still didn't really get it, but it was the seed being planted. All right, I love you all. I've got to get to work, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.